They told us never to ask questions. Not where we were going. Not what we were doing. Not why we had to forget who we were. I signed papers I didn't read. Dozens of them. They took my phone. My name. My past. All I was allowed to bring with me was silence. The facility didn't exist on any map. We were flown in blindfolded, in an aircraft with no windows. The only thing I remember from the flight is the moment the air changed, the pressure dropped, and I felt a sudden, unnatural chill. As if even the atmosphere rejected this place. When we landed, I was escorted by armed guards in black uniforms with no insignia. We passed through steel doors thicker than anything I'd seen in my life. They opened with a hiss that felt more alive than mechanical. They gave me a white coat, a badge without a name, and a voice in my ear that only said, "You're here now. Forget everything else." At first, I thought I'd been selected for virology work. The documents mentioned genetic anomalies and containment environments. But the deeper I went into that place, the clearer it became. This was no hospital. It was a cage for something else. The halls were eerily quiet, sterile, too clean, as if they were trying to erase any trace of what had ever happened here. I started to notice things. Doors that didn't open, rooms that weren't on the map. Security cameras pointed inward, not at the doors but at whoever was inside. And those warning lights, always glowing faintly red, always pulsing. Sometimes at night I'd hear them, not machines, not people. Sounds that came from the vents, the walls, the floors. Not screams, not really, but not far off. Something alive, something wrong, something learning. No one spoke about it. Everyone walked fast, eyes down, as if we were all pretending this was just another job, another paycheck. But we all felt it. There was something beneath this facility, something that wasn't supposed to be here. And the worst part? I think they were feeding it. It was my third week at the facility when I noticed the missing rooms. Every day I was given a task, usually in Sector 4, Wing B. The corridors were a maze of identical gray. But I'm good with spatial memory, and even without maps, I remembered where I had been. One evening, while heading back to my sleeping quarters, I passed a long corridor that hadn't been there before. It was dimly lit, colder than the rest of the building, and completely silent. No sound of machinery, no hum of air filtration. And on the left wall, a door with a black number, R32B. The problem was, there was no R section in any sector. I'd seen the schematics. I wasn't supposed to see this. The badge on my coat didn't open it. I stood there for a few seconds, hesitating. Then I heard something from the other side. 3 distinct knocks. Slow, deliberate, as if it knew I was standing there. I turned and left. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I brought it up to a colleague. She was older, worked here longer. Her face went pale the moment I said, R32B. She whispered, without looking at me, "Don't go near that door again. Ever. Just pretend you never saw it." Later that same day, I walked past the corridor again. It was gone. No door. No hallway. Nothing. I should have let it go. I really should have. But curiosity is a disease we carry when we work in places like this. That night, I hacked into the internal security system using an old terminal in one of the unused labs. The access was restricted, but I found logs, motion sensors, heat signatures, security alerts. I searched R32B. Only one result came up. Camera feed. Black and white. Static. And in the middle of the room, a chair. A chair covered in restraints, bloodstains, and something that looked like claw marks on the floor leading away from it. But that wasn't the worst part. In the back corner of the frame, there was a figure. Humanoid. Tall. Gaunt. Standing perfectly still, as if waiting. And then it looked at the camera. Straight at me. I slammed the terminal shut and pulled the plug. I wasn't alone in the lab anymore. The hair on my neck told me that. But when I turned around, there was nothing there. Just the hum of the fluorescent lights. And the cold, biting air. Something was wrong with this place. And it had started to notice me. They call it Sector F. Just a single letter. No description, no signs, no access for anyone without special clearance. I was authorized after undergoing an additional psychological evaluation. They said I had the perfect profile: low emotional empathy, analytical mind, zero history of hallucinations or panic attacks. I don't know whether that was a compliment or a warning. On the first day, they gave me a data tablet with one single folder. Inside it were video logs and biometric charts from something referred to as Subject 9. I wasn't supposed to ask what happened to the first 8. I didn't ask. I spent hours in a small room without windows, just screens and thick silence. The only noise was the gentle hum of the filtration system. The footage showed a dim, cold room. No bed, no toilet. Just chains on the floor, thick, metallic, and bolted into the concrete. But the strangest part? There was no one in the room. I mean, there should have been. All the readings confirmed that the subject was inside: heart rate, body temperature, motion tracking. But on the screen, it was completely empty. No shadow, no form, just the sound of something breathing very slowly, almost rhythmically. The longer I stared, the more the room on the screen started to look off. The walls slightly bent, the chains twitched for no reason, and at one point, I could swear I saw a shape crawl across the floor and vanish again. I blinked, rewound the footage. Nothing. Later, I asked one of the guards, a guy with cold eyes and a jaw that never moved more than necessary, what the hell this was. He said, "That's not a person. That's a mistake we're not allowed to fix." Then he walked away like he hadn't said anything at all. I had trouble sleeping that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the chains. Not just lying there, moving, slowly wrapping around something that wasn't visible. And then, just before I drifted off, I heard a voice. "You see me now, don't you?" It was like someone whispered it inside my skull. I snapped awake. I was alone, but the lights in my room flickered twice. And on the floor for a second, I saw a wet footprint. Just one. The next morning, Sector F was sealed. Not locked, sealed. A red indicator blinked outside the access tunnel. And armed personnel stood on both sides, not saying a word, their fingers twitching on their rifles. I showed my clearance. One of them shook his head. "Quarantine protocol. No one in, no one out." I asked what happened. He didn't answer. No one did. I was escorted back to my regular station. A small screen played looped footage from cameras around the facility. All normal, except for one frame. I paused it, zoomed in. In the reflection of the polished metal door to Sector F, there was something behind the guard. Something tall, bent, wrong. But it was gone in the next frame. 12 hours passed. Then we heard the alarm. High-pitched, continuous, not a drill. People dropped what they were doing. Some ran, some froze. I stood motionless, staring at the monitor. All cameras in Sector F had gone black. Not disabled, not lost signal, just black. Then the message appeared on my console. Protocol Omega Black initiated. Evacuate non-essential personnel. Secure all biopathways. I moved fast. I wasn't trained for this, but the adrenaline made me feel like I'd done this before in another life. As I rushed past Corridor 9B, I saw something on the wall. Claw marks, deep, long, and hot to the touch. I shouldn't have touched them. My fingertips still sting. A scientist bumped into me, eyes wide, pale, trembling. He said nothing except, "It wasn't supposed to be aware. We kept it blind. We made sure." And then he stopped, mid-sentence, looking past me. I turned. Nothing there. When I looked back, he was already running the other way. I reached the observation deck. The place was deserted. The emergency shutters were closing. I had seconds before the system would lock everything down. Then I saw it. On the main screen, footage from inside the core chamber. The chains were no longer on the floor. They were floating in the air, spinning slowly, bent inwards, as if something was pulling from inside out. No form, no figure, just the outline of a space where something should not exist, but did. My tablet lit up. A single message again. "You see me now, don't you?" This time it wasn't typed. It was scratched into the glass. From the inside, they relocated us the same night. No explanation, no debrief, just a silent order, printed in red ink. Reassignment, Sector B7. Immediate compliance. The hallway we passed through was unfamiliar, colder. It didn't feel like the rest of the facility. The walls here weren't concrete. They pulsed slightly, as if breathing. I asked one of the escorts where we were going. Storage, he muttered. Deep storage. I didn't like the way he said it. We were assigned temporary bunks in a windowless steel box. They told us to rest and wait for further instruction. No one slept. Around 3 a.m., someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. But when we opened the door, there was no one there. Just a sheet of paper lying on the floor. It was wet and bleeding. We turned it over. Words appeared slowly, as if the ink was still soaking into the fibers. Do you remember its face? We didn't. But something inside me whispered, you will. The next day, we were brought into a debriefing room. Lights buzzed overhead. A man in a suit I didn't recognize, not military, not science division, slid a folder across the table. Tell me exactly what you saw, he said. I described the chain footage, the floating, the scratches on the tablet. His face didn't change. He didn't take notes. When I finished, he finally looked me in the eye and asked, do you know what it means to have memory spliced? I shook my head. He leaned in. Sometimes, memory isn't a record of the past. Sometimes it's a container. And sometimes, it leaks. That night I dreamed of a room that was never built. Circular, lit by nothing, filled with mirrors. I saw my own face watching me from 12 angles. Only, not my current face. A younger one. A child. Crying. And behind him, always behind him, a presence. No form. No name. Just a growing noise, like 1,000 whispers remembering the same scream. When I woke up, my bunk was wet. The metal floor beneath it was warped, like something hot had been there, or still was. 2 days later, they took us to Project Chamber E9, a dome-shaped observation facility. They said we were going to review recovered footage. We sat in silence. The lights dimmed. On screen, footage from inside the core containment, time-stamped before the breach. First, everything looked normal. Then, a figure appeared, standing in the corner, facing the wall. Not tall, not short, just average. Too average. No features, no motion. But then, one by one, the staff on camera began to look directly at it, as if they'd always known it was there. But the cameras didn't pick it up. Only the reflection did. Only the glass. Only the memory. I froze, because the last 5 seconds of that tape showed me, staring at the same corner, smiling, and whispering something over and over. They boosted the audio. It was my voice, repeating the same phrase. It remembers me. It remembers me. It remembers me. I never said that. I never remembered saying that. Until now. They say names hold power. But I never imagined how true that could be. Until I heard it, or rather, felt it, echoing through my mind like a dark chant. After everything that happened, after seeing what no human should ever see, something inside me changed. It wasn't just fear or confusion anymore. It was deeper, like a shadow creeping in, claiming part of my soul. I began hearing it late at night, whispers, but not just voices. Names. A single word repeated, over and over, in the silence of my room, in the stillness of my mind. It was a name I didn't recognize, yet it felt intimately familiar. Not my name, something else. It was the name it gave me. I don't know how or when it happened exactly. One moment I was just a soldier, an observer trapped inside this terrible place. The next, I was no longer just myself. The line between me and that creature blurred. I started feeling its presence constantly, like a cold breath on my neck, a weight pressing on my chest. At times, I caught myself staring into mirrors, and the reflection didn't quite match. My eyes looked emptier, darker, as if something else was watching from within. The others, they began to change too. Not physically, at least not visibly. But in their eyes, in their silences, there was something I couldn't explain, like they were carrying pieces of the same nightmare, a shared madness. I wanted to scream, to run, but the name held me tight. It whispered promises I didn't want and threats I couldn't refuse. The creature had marked me, owned me in ways I still don't fully understand. And the worst part? The memories started slipping. My own history was fading, replaced by images and thoughts that weren't mine, or maybe they were. I couldn't tell anymore. Reality twisted. What was real? Who was I? Sometimes I wonder if I even remember my real name. After all I've seen, all I've lived through, I know one thing for certain. There are secrets no one should uncover. And some truths are far worse than lies. The creature, whatever it truly was never just a mutation or an experiment gone wrong. It was something older, something beyond understanding. And it wasn't just trapped in that facility. It's inside me now. I tried to tell the others what I discovered, but their eyes grew cold, their faces blank. They refused to listen, or maybe they were already part of it. I don't know anymore who's human and who's not. Sometimes, late at night, I feel it moving beneath my skin. Not a feeling of pain, but of something alive and watching. I'm no longer sure if it's my own thoughts or whispers from that darkness inside. I've hidden the evidence, erased what I could, but pieces remain. Fragments of files, fleeting memories, and the undeniable proof of what I saw. I want to run, disappear, but the name it gave me chains me here. The government says it's for the greater good, that understanding this mutation will save lives. But I see only horror and madness. If you ever get a chance to hear my story, listen carefully. Because once you've seen what I saw, you can never forget. And sometimes, the real monster isn't what's locked away in secret labs, but what it leaves inside you. I'm writing this now because maybe, just maybe, someone needs to know. To be warned. To understand that some doors shouldn't be opened. Because now, I'm not sure where I end, and it begins.